Hi guys, it's Molly. Welcome back to my corner of the internet. I just wanted to quickly bring you guys my TBR for June. So I kind of have about 6 options I picked for myself this month. I probably won't get to all of them. I'll probably honestly only get through 4. I'm kind of cheating a little because I already started. But I'm just going to kind of walk you guys through the books that I chose and why I chose them. So I picked mostly easier books for June just because I wanted books I can kind of breeze through and that wouldn't take too much effort and time for me to read. I've noticed that during the school year it's easier for me to read like the shorter books. Like I just finished reading Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which is like probably about the same size as this book right here. Probably only like 100 and something pages, maybe like 130, 140, so it wasn't too much of a hassle to get through. It was like 140 pages probably. If you guys want, I can do a video later talking about my impressions of that book. I think it's the second book in the series of Wayward Children series. I think there's 5 books, but I've heard that you can read them out of order and it doesn't really affect your experience with the books. I've also heard that there's a series, like I think on like Sci-Fi or something like that, coming out pretty soon based on the series. So I want to get through those books, so I'll probably start collecting them within the next few months here. But anyways, here are the books that I picked to read through this month. So the first book up here, it's a classic. So I'm a huge fan of Jane Austen. I talked about how I love period pieces. I've really been wanting to read Persuasion. I could just read the back for you guys. In her last completed novel, published posthumously, Jane Austen revisits the theme of mischance and misunderstanding along the road to personal happiness. Circumstances force vainglorious spendthrift Sir Walter Elliot to let out the family seat, Kellynch Hall, whose new occupants, Admiral and Mrs. Croft, open up old emotional wounds. Mrs. Croft's brother, Captain Frederick Wentworth, was once engaged to Sir Walter's second daughter Anne, who was persuaded to break with the dashing but penniless naval officer, as much for his benefit as her own. Captain Wentworth's fortune have since prospered, but the pain of past rejection burns deep. Anne can only look on with regret as her former love seems to have another in his marital sights, while she finds herself with a new ardent suitor in the shape of Sir Walter's heir. Having been forced into prudence in her youth, the mature Anne must use her own judgment, exercise her own will, should a second opportunity present itself. So, I mean, it seems like it's going to be great Jane Austen books. It's really cool to read about that era. Like, it's a different time and people thought differently and there were different reasons behind your actions, and it was almost like status mattered in a different way. I mean, status matters now, but it's more like what people put online is like that perfect part of them or the perfect bits of them. I think back then it was more like how refined was your family and your household and how decadent could your parties be, because you couldn't really post a picture of your castle or your mansion. You just kind of had the memories that people had from your parties. Okay, so anyways, Persuasion, Jane Austen, one of my picks. The next book I'm going to show, I've started before and got through the first few chapters, but it was a pretty heavy book. And it's Brave New World. It's by Aldous Huxley. I was recommended this book after I read 1984. I was told by a couple really good friends in college that this would be a good book along the same vein of like darkness and dystopian futures and how corrupt the world can end up being. And from what I've read, a lot of it's like taking the love out of family and turning everything into like a scientific procedure. I really love books that are kind of like a critique on society. So I'm excited to finish reading this book. Brave New World. The next book on my list is the shortest book, which I think is going to probably be the easiest to read. It's Poison by Sarah Pinborough. Sarah Pinborough has like a ton of novels which are like dark retellings of fairy tales. I have Poison and Beauty. Poison is supposed to be based off of Snow White, and Beauty is supposed to be based off of Sleeping Beauty. I have another book by her, but I don't think it's based on a fairy tale. It's The Language of Dying, but I don't think that one's a fairy tale. I'm just kind of looking over there because my Sarah Pinborough books are up there. But anyways, I could just read the back for you guys. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, a handsome prince rescues a beautiful princess from the machinations of her wicked stepmother, sweeps her onto his white horse, and rides off into the sunset. But in Sarah Pinborough's wicked retelling of the classic tale, nothing is quite as you remember it. So, it's supposed to have some twists in there. I've read Mayhem by Sarah Pinborough, and Mayhem was set during the time when Jack the Ripper was pretty rampant through the streets of London. That one's kind of like a thriller and has crime elements in it. I mean, it was a really exciting read, fast-paced. There's a lot of action going on. So I'm hoping this book is going to be fast-paced, lots of action, easy to get through, especially for me to read as I'm still like finishing out the school year with my kiddos. Yeah. Poison. The next book I picked is Conversion by Katherine Howe. This book is a YA book, I believe. And from what I've kind of garnered from the inside slip, there's this high school. It's like an academy where they all have uniforms and stuff, I think. And it centers around like the most popular girl at the school, and apparently a bunch of her friends are like getting some really weird illness, and it says that the symptoms are seizures, hair loss, violent coughing fits. And I guess there's just rumors going all around the school. They're trying to figure out how the illness is spreading. And the main character, Colleen Rowley, finds a lot of similarities between what's going on at her school and the Salem witch trials. And she ends up finding out that their town is actually where the old Salem was. So she's kind of trying to solve the mystery of what's going on. This book is kind of right up my alley, but it has some of like realistic elements. I really am on like a thriller kick right now, so I think this will be really good for that. And also, since I think it's YA, it'll be an easier book to get through. Although it is a pretty big book, and the font is not like huge, but I think it'll be a really fun like mystery that won't be too hard to get through. I also really liked on the back of the book a really interesting fact that says she's a direct descendant of three of the women accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials, one of who was hanged and two who survived. And I thought that was pretty cool because she's like a direct descendant of the time that she's writing about, well, part of the time that she's writing about, since it's doing like that split thing. So I thought that was a pretty cool perspective. So Conversion is on my list for June. And the next book was actually bought for me by a friend. Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Well, just look at this cover. Isn't it beautiful? And like the inside cover. My friend bought it because she knows I'm really into fantasy, and she just read it and she thought it would be a book I was really into. I guess it's a circus that just appears out of nowhere. I guess there's two magicians, which is great because like I said, I love sorcery and magic and witchcraft and books. And there's two magicians kind of dueling, apparently. The back of the book says their names are Celia and Marco. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a really good book. Dueling love-struck magicians, precocious kittens, hyper-elegant displays of beauty, and complicated clocks. Like, it sounds really exciting. Night Circus. And the last book, this is the one where I said I kind of cheated a little bit. I actually started reading it today. I didn't get like extremely far into it. I'm at about page 79. This is a book I recently picked up. Vicious by B. Schwab. This is the same author of the Darker Shade of Magic series. What I've garnered from reading so far is that Eli and Victor are friends in college. They have to write a senior thesis. One of them decides to write about people called the, I don't call the specials. They're called like extraordinaries or EOs. One of them decides to write about that, and the other one decides to write like about adrenaline and your response to like stressful situations. And it time jumps between 10 years before the opening of the novel, 1 week before the opening of the novel, 2 days before the opening of the novel, and then last night. And the chapters are actually super short. I mean, some of them are only 2 pages. Some of them are, I think the longest one I've read so far is like 10 pages. I really like how they're kind of leaving clues for you to figure out how they got from point A to point B. I don't want to give any spoilers. I mean, I think what I told you guys doesn't spoil too much because it's just what you could read probably from looking up the book and reading the back cover. It's really good, and it's dark, and it's magic, and it's my little cup of tea. Alright, so those are the books that I've chosen to read for June. They all kind of just flew back there. I might add some books, I might take away some books, it really depends, but those are really my goals for this month. Let me know if you guys want me to kind of do like a little book talk or a little review of the book. I can do kind of like my review where like up to a certain point there's no spoilers, and then after that you could just stop watching the video, and then the rest can kind of have some spoilers, but it's like really important to know for the context of the book and for my opinion of the book. So let me know if you're interested in hearing about any of these. Let me know any book suggestions to add for this month or even for next month. Really excited to read. So thanks for stopping in my corner of the internet. I will see you guys next time.